Hi everyone, and today on Robert Farris Tea and Tarot we have a look at this very nice thing, the Melanated Classic Tarot from Julia Goolsby and Oubria Tronshaw. Now, I'm very excited about getting this because I've been thinking about getting it for quite a long time. About a year ago, I was very interested in seeing what there was in terms of, representations of people of colour in tarot. And I Googled about and I looked at a few things. The genre seems to be fairly small. There is the African tarot, the African American tarot, at least one called that, and some tarots called black tarots. I like this because it's really a recolouring of the Rider-Waite-Smith, and I'm really into Rider-Waite-Smith. I don't want to reinvent the wheel. And earlier, I think when it first came out, this deck had borders, and I didn't like the borders particularly, and I was kind of waiting for it to come out in a borderless edition, which it now has come out in. And as you might also know from my videos, I don't really like trimming my own tarot cards. Maybe I'm not very good at it, but it always seems to ruin them. So here we are with an edition, the current edition of the Melanated Classic Tarot. And as you can see, it's a borderless deck. So it's not rocket science what the artists and the designers have done with this, but it's very important. And as they say on the box, representation matters, especially with archetypes of magic and power. So we have the Rider-Waite-Smith images, and they are melanated. So we have some darker skins, some African faces, African American faces perhaps. And we have a different colour palette. And I'm very into different colour palettes because I get bored with Rider-Waite-Smith. That's not Rider-Waite-Smith's fault. It's my fault for having a short attention span, but I do get a bit bored. And I like visually things that are going to make me sit up and pay attention. Now, I've noticed with this edition of the Melanated Classic Tarot that in getting rid of the borders, the designers have sort of like zoomed in a bit. So the edges of the images have kind of slightly been lost. I think it's more pronounced in Major Arcana, court cards and aces, those cards which would have had writing in a little box. And the zooming on those seems to be a bit more extreme than in the Minor Arcana pip cards. Here, for example, in Hanged Man, you can barely see the tree. But that's a very minor quibble because, that's a great Hanged Man. That's a great bit of recolouring there. It looks fantastic. So I'm not really too fussed about that. It's just a sort of design observation. That's another lovely bit of colouring, isn't it? Devil, Tower, Star. There's, I think, 3 cards in the pack where the artist has added a face. We have one on the moon, one on the sun, and then we're going to find one on the 3 of Swords. And I have something to say about that. I don't think it's very good on the 3 of Swords. Oh yes, and now that I think of it, here we have the back side, which I haven't really seen that before in a tarot deck. The artist has simply taken a card, in this case the 8 of Batons, and popped it on the back side, exactly as it is with the same colours and everything. So when we get to the 8 of Batons, we're going to have a lot of fun because it'll be roughly the same both ways round. There we have Judgment. See the The St. George flag has been replaced by the Black Liberation flag. And the world. I like the aces. I think all four aces, in all four aces, God's hand or Goddess's hand has got green nail varnish, and I think that's quite right too. I've also noticed with this deck, I mean, I haven't made an exact one-to-one comparison. The colour palette is different from any version of the Rider-Waite-Smith, but there seems to be a bit less yellow. There seems to be a lot more blue skies. And when I flipped through a classic Rider-Waite-Smith earlier today, I noticed the Rider-Waite-Smith has a lot more grey skies, which I guess is right for England. Look, there's the 8 of Batons, ladies and gentlemen. Look. That's it. The only difference being you have an 8 there. Good fun. Yeah, so I guess, you know, if you're designing the tarot in England, you're likely to have quite a lot of grey skies. But not with this version. There are some yellow skies, which are a bit more goldy here. Not so lemony. And there are lots of blue skies. I think on the whole, the feeling of this deck is quite warm. It's quite sunny. It's maybe even quite hot. So, you know, there's a kind of an African feel, I suppose. And you also can see that in some of these versions, the artist has been able to take the trouble to slow down and go in and slightly correct some of Pamela's more hasty drawings. I mean, this is a notoriously bad card in Pamela's deck, the 8 of Cups, but it's tidied up. That's the word I'm looking for. The cups are a bit neater there. That's certainly very nice. A gorgeous rainbow around the 10 cups there. And some very nice fashion design ideas in the court cards as well. I like that very much. The Knight of Cups. The Knight of Cups, we've zoomed in here so much that we can't quite see the whole horse, but, you know, we're getting more of the knight, aren't we? So we can't really complain. Here's the King of Cups, and here we're coming into the swords, and here again, we can't quite see the whole of the ace, but, you know, it's great. We are just coming towards my least favourite card in this deck, the 3 of Swords. And the 3 of Swords has got a woman's face superimposed on it, which I find a bit strange. And I know that tarotists disagree about the meanings of the cards, and I think it's great that tarotists disagree about the meanings of the cards. But I would have thought the meaning of the 3 of Swords is fairly universally understood. It's the card of sorrow, and I mean, even if you put a soft reading on it, it's the card of difficult conversations or difficult things that you have to do to make progress. And I mean, if this had been designed by a man, I would have thought, wow, he's accusing... I would have thought, well, that's not very nice. All sorrow has got some woman behind it. But it's not. It's designed by women, so it can't mean that, can it? A rather lovely purple and yellow design for the 4 of Swords. A rather lovely brown and green. I think that the colours pop, don't they? They're rich and they're generous. And they're rather I don't know. Fun? Is fun the word? They're easy, aren't they? They're easy on the eye. They're easy to deal with. They're sort of familiar colours. Here we have our fashion session of the swords. The pages are always, you know, they're always a bit of a fashion statement, aren't they, the pages? A great knight. A lovely queen. And a very solid, attentive-looking King of Swords. I'm really enjoying the nail varnish on the hand of God there. I'm really enjoying the juggling there. And a nice, sombre, businesslike Three of Batons. And here I would say we have a gender flip on the Four of Pentacles. The sad Five. A great Six. A Seven. And the serious Eight. And these faces, I mean, part of the pleasure of this deck is to see the amount of character that's gone into all the faces that appear in the Rider-Waite-Smith. There's a feeling of a real saga going on, a lovely fashionable Page of Pentacles. My favourite man, the Knight of Pentacles. The Queen. And another really nice piece of recolouring here, the King of Pentacles, where you can really, those grapes have really been nicely done, haven't they? You can really see them. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was the Melanated Classic Tarot, which personally I think is a deck which belongs in any tarot collector's collection. See you in 2 weeks' time. You have been watching Robert Farrar's Tea and Tarot. Thank you very much to Julia Goolsby and Oubria Tronshaw for this lovely deck. Bye.